Jordan was 22 when the salary hit. Not a life-changing number, just enough to feel real. Enough to stop checking the account balance before buying groceries. Enough to finally feel like things were starting. And in the first few months, Jordan did everything right. Paid the bills, set a little aside, stayed in the flat he'd been in since university because it was fine and he didn't need anything more. Then came the raise. 24 years old, 18% more per year than he'd been earning. And that, right there, is where the trap opened. Not with a dramatic decision, not with a reckless purchase or a bad investment or a financial mistake anyone would sit down and warn you about, just a raise. And the completely reasonable, human, entirely understandable response to it. Jordan moved to a nicer place. Nothing extravagant, just a bit more space. A slightly better suburb, an extra $150 a month. He upgraded the car he'd been driving since he was 19. He started going to the gym he'd always meant to join. He got a few streaming services because, well, he could. He started eating out a little more because the places he'd been avoiding for 2 years were suddenly inside budget. Every single one of those decisions was reasonable. Every single one of them looked, at the time, like the obvious next step for someone who was finally earning what they were supposed to be earning. By the time Jordan turned 27, he was earning 40% more than he was at 22. And he had almost nothing to show for it. Not because he was irresponsible, not because he was bad with money, but because something had happened between 22 and 27 that nobody had warned him about. Something so quiet, so gradual, and so perfectly disguised as progress that he hadn't noticed it until one afternoon he sat down to actually look at his accounts and realized he had less saved at 27 than he'd expected to have at 24. I want to walk you through exactly what happened to Jordan, because Jordan is not a cautionary tale. Jordan is the default. Jordan is what happens when nobody explains the trap. And today, I'm going to explain it. The trap has a name. I call it the silent upgrade. The silent upgrade is not a single purchase. It is not a mistake you make once and recover from. It is the continuous, automatic, almost invisible process by which your spending expands to match every increase in your income before you have a chance to make a deliberate decision about where that increase should go. It is silent because there is no moment you can point to. It happens across hundreds of small, individually justifiable choices over months and years. And it is an upgrade because at every step it looks like progress. The nicer flat is not a trap, it is a reward. The better gym is not a trap, it is self-investment. The extra subscriptions are not a trap. They are simply the baseline of a modern, comfortable life. Each upgrade makes sense on its own terms, which is precisely why, taken together, they are so effective at consuming a financial future before it begins. Let me show you how the silent upgrade works in Jordan's case, because the numbers are the part that most people never actually sit down and calculate. Jordan's raise at 24 added roughly $800 per month to his take-home income. That felt significant. Here is where those $800 went. The new flat, $150 more per month than the old one. The car upgrade, he financed a newer model, $210 per month. The gym membership he'd always meant to join, $65 per month. Free streaming services and one music subscription, $48 per month. Eating out more frequently, social plans he no longer had to decline, roughly $170 per month in additional discretionary spending, one buy now, pay later arrangement for some furniture he needed for the new flat, not extravagant, just practical, $55 per month in repayments, add those up, $758 per month. Out of $800 in additional income, Jordan had a raise of $800 a month and redirected $758 of it without ever sitting down to do so. He did not budget for the silent upgrade. He did not decide to spend his raise on lifestyle. He simply made a series of reasonable-seeming individual choices, and the raise disappeared.
And here is the part that matters beyond Jordan's monthly budget. Here is what the silent upgrade actually cost him.
If Jordan had redirected even $300 of that $800 raise into an index fund at age 24, just $300, not all of it, not even half of it, and left it there until age 65 at a 7% long-run average annual return, that $300 per month grows to approximately $670,000 over 41 years.
$670,000 from one decision made once at 24. Instead, those $300 went toward a gym membership, 2 extra streaming services, and the margin on a car payment. Not dramatically, not recklessly, just quietly, just by default. That is what the silent upgrade costs. Not in the month it happens, but over the decades that follow. Now I want to stay with Jordan for a moment longer because the flat and the car are only the most visible part of what happened to him. There are 2 other mechanisms inside the silent upgrade that are harder to see and in some ways more expensive. The first is buy now, pay later debt. Jordan's furniture purchase was not unusual.
In fact, almost half of people in their 20s have used a BNPL service in the past year. The appeal is obvious. Split a purchase into 4 installments, often with no interest if you pay on time, and the money doesn't leave your account in one painful chunk. It leaves in small, manageable pieces that are easy to absorb mentally.
The problem Jordan ran into is what happens when you have more than one running at the same time. The furniture repayments, then a BNPL for a new laptop when his old one died, then a few smaller purchases he'd stacked over a few months because each one seemed small enough to justify. At any given moment, each arrangement felt individually manageable, but they were never visible as a single number.
Jordan had to actually calculate what he owed across multiple apps to find out, and he hadn't done that. To 57% of people in their 20s who use BNPL services have missed at least one payment. Not because they are careless, but because the architecture of BNPL is specifically designed to feel like not spending, which means it is also designed to make it easy to forget about until the notification arrives. The second is the credit card balance Jordan had been carrying for just over a year. Not a large balance, around $4,000.
The kind of balance that accumulates without drama across a period when expenses ran slightly ahead of income a few months in a row, and the card covered the difference. Jordan had been paying more than the minimum, but not enough to clear it.
And because he hadn't sat down to calculate what that balance was actually costing him monthly, he hadn't noticed that at current interest rates running above 20% annually, he was paying somewhere around $65 to $70 per month in pure interest. Money that produced nothing, that cleared no principal efficiently,
that simply vanished every month as the fee for having borrowed money he no longer had anything specific to show for. Here's the thing about carrying credit card debt at 20% while also intending to invest one day. There is no investment available to someone in their 20s that reliably returns 20% per year,
which means every month Jordan carried that balance was a month in which the most powerful financial move he could make was to pay off debt, not invest, not upgrade, not plan. Just clear the thing that was actively compounding against him at a rate his future investments will never reliably match. He knew interest was bad in a general sense. He didn't know the numbers well enough to understand that the credit card balance was the most expensive thing in his financial life at that moment, more expensive in return terms than any investment account he wasn't yet contributing to. There is one more layer of the silent upgrade that I want to show you before we talk about what Jordan and you can actually do about it. It is the quietest layer, and it is the one most likely to still be running in your accounts right now without you actively thinking about it. Subscriptions, not the ones you use every day. Those are fine, you chose them deliberately, and you're getting what you paid for. I mean, the ones that have become part of the background noise of your financial life. The streaming service from 2 years ago you keep meaning to revisit but don't really watch. The app you downloaded during lockdown that moved to a paid tier and you accepted because the prompt appeared at an inconvenient moment. The membership you signed up for because the first month was free and the cancellation required more steps than you had time for that day. For most people who have never audited their subscriptions, the total comes in somewhere between $100 and $200 per month once you go through a bank statement line by line. That's not a judgment, that's the design.
These services are built on the friction of cancellation being higher than the friction of continuation. And in a life where everything else demands your attention, financial background noise stays on indefinitely. 2/3 of people in this age group reported at least one bank overdraft in the past year. A significant number of those were not caused by a large, unexpected expense. They were caused by a recurring charge hitting on a day the balance was lower than expected. A charge that was technically known about, just not actively remembered. The silent upgrade does not announce itself. It runs in the background automatically until someone switches it off. If this is the kind of content that is changing how you think about money rather than just confirming what you already knew, subscribing takes about 2 seconds and means you'll see what we cover next. We're going back to Jordan now. Jordan is 27. He's sat down with his bank statements for the first time in what he estimates is about 14 months. He's looking at the full picture. What he finds does not feel like a revelation in the dramatic sense. It feels like a quiet, clarifying kind of uncomfortable. He is not in crisis. He has not made catastrophic choices.
He has simply, across 5 years, made the completely default choices. The ones the system expects you to make, the ones that look like progress from the outside. And he has arrived at 27 with significantly less compounding time in front of him than he had at 22. He has also found 3 subscriptions he genuinely does not recognize. Here is what Jordan does next. Not because it is dramatic, but because it is the only thing that actually changes the outcome. He cancels the subscriptions he doesn't use. That recovers about $90 per month. He makes a plan to clear the credit card balance aggressively over the next 8 months, redirecting money from discretionary spending rather than waiting for a future raise to cover it.
That will free up the $65 monthly interest cost permanently, plus the minimum payment he was making. Once the balance is gone, he does not upgrade his flat when the lease comes up. He stays for 1 more year. He redirects $250 per month into an index fund. Not $300, not $500.
$250, the amount he could find without the situation feeling punishing. He is 27 when he starts. Not 22, not 24, 27. At a 7% long-run average annual return, $250 per month from age 27 to age 65, 38 years, grows to approximately $590,000. He did not get the $670,000 outcome that was available at 24. That window closed. He cannot get it back. What he can get is $590,000. Which is still a life-changing sum, still built on $250 per month. Still the result of one decision made once and maintained. The trap is not fatal.
Missing it earlier is not fatal. Starting later is not the same as not starting. But the trap is real, and the earlier you understand how it works, the more of the curve you get to keep. I want to say one honest thing before we close, because I think financial content earns credibility by saying the things it's inconvenient to say. For some people, the silent upgrade is not the explanation. The explanation is that rent has increased faster than wages in most cities over the past decade. That the baseline cost of living has risen in ways that make the comparison to previous generations structurally unfair. That there are households where the paycheck-to-paycheck reality has nothing to do with streaming services or car upgrades, and everything to do with the rent increasing by 20% in 2 years while the salary increased by 4.
If that is your situation, this video is still relevant, but the sequence changes. The compounding principles are exactly the same. The first move is different. But for a meaningful number of people who are watching this, people who have had at least one pay rise in the past 3 years and cannot fully account for where the difference went, Jordan's story is not a cautionary tale about someone else. It is a description of a mechanism that may already be running. The silent upgrade does not feel like a trap while it is happening.
That is the only reason it works. Every individual decision Jordan made was reasonable. The flat, the car, the gym, the card balance he meant to clear, the BNPL arrangement that seemed manageable, the subscriptions he meant to revisit. None of it was reckless. All of it was default.
And default, across a decade of the highest compounding leverage most people will ever have, is the most expensive setting your financial life can run on. Jordan is sitting at 27 with his bank statement open in front of him. The question he is asking himself, the one that matters, the only one that matters from this point forward, is not why he didn't start sooner.
It is what the next $250 is going to do. That question is available to you right now. Whatever your version of Jordan looks like, whatever age you are sitting at, whatever the silent upgrade has already taken, the curve does not start over, but it does not end either. It continues from wherever you enter it. The only bad time to enter is later than today.